Hi, I'm Richard Hill. Let's talk about focus and concentration. These are, of course, really important things, not only in business, but in school, at home, and also even in relationships, where you need to understand how to bring yourself and attune yourself to a particular task sometimes. Now, these words focus and concentration kind of get mixed up, I think, a lot. So the way I like to look at it is focus is the action of bringing your attention into a specific need, into a particular point. Concentration, on the other hand, I like to think of that as the description of the energy involved. So you need an energy that is around your action of focus. And if you haven't got a lot of energy, then that action of focus sort of peters out. And low energy and concentration tends to get you off into daydreaming. Excessive energy of concentration tends to make your focus rigid. Sometimes you miss things that are just on the periphery, which can be an important thing. Now, I put up here the first one because that's actually the one that most people talk about. You know, your focus, you get distracted, and that's why you lose your focus. And this is very true, because distraction obviously takes you away from this thing to over there, or from there to over there. But what's distraction all about? Now, I do a lot of work with the mind and the brain, and so we're really beginning to understand this better now. So let's have a look at what distractions are all about. The brain pays attention to something that is emotionally relevant, that is survival relevant, that is beneficial for health and well-being. So it sets a hierarchy, and if you're finding that your task is getting a lot of distractions, then your brain, at very least, is putting your task down in the hierarchy. Now, certainly we have our environment, we have stimulus, noises, bad lighting, various things of, unpleasant furniture, all kinds of different aspects just in your environment, smells, all that sort of stuff. Or equally, if a big brown bear, if it came running through the door there, I'm pretty much sure that I'd stop concentrating on focusing on you and I'd change my focus, because that would be a great threat. So threats and sense of fear and danger make us distracted, quite rightly so, because that's survival. But we have internal threats and fears and stresses that are going on. And, if you had an argument with your partner, maybe if I had an argument with my partner just before coming in here to do the video, well, it would make it hard for me to focus on to speaking to you, because in the back of my mind I'd be saying, what are you talking to that video for? What's happening? Your life is falling apart. Everything's dreadful. That sort of stuff. Equally, maybe the boss said to me, go in there, do a really good video, or otherwise you're sacked. Well, that's going to be really hard to do the video. That's going to be a big distraction from the task of focusing and feeling in charge and feeling comfortable. So distractions are something that are actually trying to tell us something. There's a message in that problem. And really, one of the things that we don't do often enough is pay attention to that. Now, it's different if you're procrastinating, if you're just using these other things to get away from doing what you need to do, the task at hand. And we've done another tape on procrastination. Have a look for that, and you'll see what I'm talking about there in procrastination. This is different. This is when you've got the desire to focus and you've got the concentration, the capacity to concentrate, but you're not able to. In this case, we've talked about the first part, which is distractions. Now, one of the ways to do that is to write these distractions down. Write the things that you're thinking. Write the things that are disturbing you. If they're environmental, make some changes. If they're internally, as I was talking about, some kind of personal experience that you haven't dealt with, then deal with that experience. But one of the other things that it's talking about is it also might be talking to you, the message in this problem might be something more subtle, and it's trying to do it by distracting your attention. So how's your sleep? How's your exercise? What about your diet? What's your stress levels? Have you got some sort of underlying illness that you're not paying attention to? That this aspect of losing focus on another task, it's almost a gift your body is saying. Please stop doing that. Pay attention to this. Take note of all these things and take some action on them. You might then, when looking at that list of things, see, no, none of those things are imperative. None of those things have to be dealt with right this very moment. I am going to decide to focus on the task. Now, as I'm doing this tape, the office has got a roadway nearby, a highway. Now, if I listen and worry and think about the traffic, then all that's going to happen is I'm going to hear it. So what I do is I focus my attention more and more and more finely and acutely on the actual thing that is happening in front of you. Now, if a really loud truck goes going by, and actually I don't know whether you can hear it, there's a really loud truck going by right now. Really throws my focus and attention, really throws my ability, so I've kind of had to loosen up a bit. But see how I used the distraction to actually maintain my focus on the task. So I applied the distraction to the task. In meditation or in guided meditations, this is a really useful thing to do, to always include the external environment and the internal environment. This is what mindfulness is all about. So that's distraction. But let's move on. That's how you deal with some of those distractions. To the one that people don't talk about much, what to focus on. You thought about that? Sometimes it's not that you don't have focus or that you don't have concentration, and you're focusing and you're concentrating to Billy-O, but still everything seems to be going, to hell in a basket. That's because what you focus on may not be what you need to focus on. The best way to describe that is a really good experiment done by these guys with golfers. So they took some golfers with, pardon all you people who don't play golf, but it's a certain amount of skill involved in golf. It's quite a difficult game. So they took a bunch of golfers who were really good, low handicaps, played a lot. Then those who didn't play terribly much, high handicaps, not really very good, but sort of knew how to play the game. And they gave them this task of just chipping a ball onto the green, just a short chip onto the green nearest, get into the hole or nearest the hole as you possibly could. Now, there's two aspects to this that they wanted to focus on. They said, now, is it better to focus on the hole, on the goal, on the outcome? Or is it better to focus on the swing, on the actual technical process of the swing? So they tested both groups, and guess what? The guys who were very good and had very low handicaps, they did much better when they focused on the goal, on the end result, on visioning where it was going to, where the ball was going to land, and doing that, because the swing, that had become automatic in their head. That was well practiced, well rehearsed, they were well skilled. On the other hand, the ones with the high handicaps, they needed to focus on their swing, on the technicalities of what they were doing. They needed to monitor the movements that they were doing. And if they did a really good swing and a really good technical expression of the skill, then the ball would land nearby the hole. But interestingly, if you told the good golfers to focus on their swing, well, they actually mucked it up because it had become automatic and their thinking interrupted in the beautiful flow that their body would have with the process of exercising your relationship of skill to challenge. So with these guys, the good golfers, their challenge was the final result of getting it in the hole or very close to the hole. The non-skilled guys, their challenge was to do the skill well. And in doing the skill well, they would get it close to the hole. But what's interesting, they both performed with some kind of reasonable comparableness by giving them the right focus of attention and the right degree of concentration. Because that's the other thing that would have happened if they concentrated too hard. Then what happens is you stiffen up and you do a bad swing and you do a bad production, and that happens in either group. So the essence is to understand this difference. Now, if this is your challenge and this is your skill level, what you've got, a good high level of skill and a reasonably high level of challenge, but when they meet, you get the sweet spot. And this spot is called the spot flow. You've heard about that. Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi did that, and someone told me that if you say that in a speech once or twice, people are very impressed, just pronouncing his name. But he did a lot of work, not just in getting to this point of flow. And this is a good space to be in. It's a very comfortable, it's very pleasing, it's very satisfying, it's very high achievement level. But actually, if you go a little bit higher into challenge compared to your skill, what you get there is a point of arousal. An arousal or challenge. Now that's actually really an exciting time. And this is a really good thing for your focus because you're aroused, excited, it becomes interesting as long as you don't let in negative beliefs and all the other bits and pieces, and we've covered that in one of the other programs as well. If you go down this way and you sort of reduce the challenge in relation to the skill, what you get there is an area of control. And this can be good. It can be good to be in control of what's going on. It's not very challenging, it's not very stimulating, but it's very good for the ego and it's very good for strengthening your resolve and your sense of self-efficacy, which is really important. Now, when I was talking about your concentration levels, so how do you tell? How do you know what's going on with your concentration? What's the issue? Well, if your concentration is wafting and fading and dull, that's because you're going down in this direction, where you're getting skill in relation and lack of challenge. And this just moves down to boredom. You know, kids in school, they don't know how to do it and they don't want to do it anyway. And so they're off out the window imagining whatever. And this is the same at work. On the other hand, up this level, if you move from your arousal and you reduce the amount of skill but instead keep a high challenge, then you move into the area of anxiety and stress and fear. So up here, what's happening to your concentration? It's getting stronger and stronger and more. The energy is much higher. But that is not good because really you want a relaxed aspect. One of the things they talk about flow is it's very relaxed. And even arousal is sort of energetic, but it's still relaxed. Control is perhaps getting something a little bit too relaxed. But here, it's very relaxed. There's no energy. There's no concentration. And so the focus really just goes elsewhere. And I would say a daydream is pretty focused, pretty attuned to where they're going. They're just not concentrating on what they need to be concentrating on. So there you are, a look at distraction and a bunch of things to do. Find if there's a message in the distractions. Write them down and attend to them. Don't just let it go by as though it's nothing and think your task is the only thing. These distractions are trying to tell you something. They need to be attended to. Also, with the distractions, is learn to put them aside. Make a decision whether you can leave them and decide to leave them and even incorporate them into your process. So, wow, if I've got a problem with my partner, if I get this job done, I'll really focus on getting this job done and concentrate, and then I can get directly and apply equal attention to them. Incorporate in your process with what to focus on. If you've got high skill to the challenge, then you don't need to focus on the skill, focus on the challenge, focus on the goal, focus on the outcome. If you've got low skill to the challenge, then you need to focus on your skill because you need to get it right, because otherwise you might make a mess of it. So that sometimes what people say is just focus on the goal, focus on the outcome. And that's actually not helpful for those people who don't have the skill to back up that focus of vision. So for me, Richard Hill, that's all for now. Thank you.